fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive!
This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a brand new season for the lipclothing.com Hard and Fast season, presented by driversclub.net.au. We're taking the rallycross cars and we're throwing them on some short tracks, and we're kicking things off in Barcelona using the Catalunya club circuit, which is pretty much sector 1 of the full GP layout. And bringing you the coverage tonight is myself, Ryan Jones, and alongside me is Jay Kennedy. He's also behind the scenes. He's doing a lot of things. My jack of all trades, master of none. Jay. I know.
Oh, what an introduction there. Thank you. Yeah, you are right. Master of absolute zero. This is going to be fun, though. Hard and Fast last time was V8s around short club circuits with heat racing. Now we're going the same format, same style, but we're taking the tracks even shorter once again, throwing the rallycross cars in. We've got the figure 8 circuit coming out. We've got the jumpy truck layouts. We've got this being the longest circuit we do in the entire calendar, the Catalunya club circuit. A 48-second lap time is our longest track. It's going to mean we're going to have some mega racing throughout this season.
Just said jumpy truck layouts.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, going to be a fantastic season ahead of us. Plenty of action, plenty of racing using a heat format as well. So expect drivers to be maximum attack all the way around the racetrack 100% of the time, using a bit more of the racetrack than maybe strictly in the rules and regulations. Was Grant Matterford right there, who's had a busy night already. A few drivers doubling down from the Aussie Car Series a few minutes ago. Ryan Shooter, he's currently fastest in practice, and he is in the fence.
That was committed from Ryan Shooter, but a really, really cool layout too, as you said. That's the layout that is the first sector. I can't not do a broadcast now that I've done all these track maps to not show it up, but you can see that's where Barcelona is. A little bit away from everywhere else in regards to racetracks in the world. Monaco being the other closest circuit outside
Valencia,
of Spain.
which hosted the European GP for a while. That was a street circuit, yeah.
Once, and there you go, there's the circuit. So a massive run to turn 1. Turn 1, since we've had this track map made up by Reese, who looks after all of our track maps, we found out the start line is actually the run between turn 6 and 7. So it's an even shorter run into turn 1. So there's a little concrete strip when get of some drivers coming through that section next. There's a very, very tiny concrete strip that you can see just there. That is the finish line.
Oh, okay. Well, not exactly defined, but there it is.
Yep. So we'll see throughout the championship. We've got witches' hats that show the finish lines. You've got all sorts of different things that will actually show the finish line throughout this championship. But none of them really make much sense. In some tracks, there's no defining section that you can see where the finish line is at all. So we have to work it out based on the timing as to whether the finish lines are at some circuits. But for the most part, we should be able to work it out with some way, shape or form. But it should be really, really cool. And qualifying coming up in about 5 minutes. We've got 8 laps that they can run in qualifying as well. So heaps of time to get a feel for the circuit, and a lot of qualifying that they can do. Qualifying points available for the championship as well.
Qualifying points, yeah, available for the championship. Also in the heat races and the feature paying out points. You don't get anything for the consolation races or the alphabet soup, depending on how many drivers we get. So in terms of what they're racing for, there's $500 total prize pool over the course of the season being paid out every heat winner going to get a bit of money. Every feature race winner going to get a bit of money as well. Plus a couple other rewards thrown in there as well, Jay.
Yeah, cool format in regards to that as well. So entry fee for all the drivers, but they're going to get something back from that as well. So, as I said, $500 cash prizes for the top 5 each round, cash prizes for each heat winner, and cash up for the fastest qualifier and the fastest lap in the feature race as well. So, cash up for grabs in lots of different ways. So, cool. Even if you can only race a couple of races, you've still got a chance of winning something. Even if it's not the overall championship prize, you can still win yourself a little bit of coin.
Exactly right. Let's have a look at what our form gate. Well, our bite. Oh my god, I can't speak.
I'll put the timing up. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
I knew what you were trying to say.
Broadcasts in a row, and it just all goes to crap. So Ryan Shooter is putting himself right at the top of the form guide. Then he's got half a tenth over Jeremy Clark, and then it's 2 tenths back to Skurlock, who's in third. That's a big gap for a 43-second lap time. 2 tenths of a second between second and third.
There's a drift there. That's Gavin Sadler. Yeah, they're absolutely sliding it through Repsol and down into turn 5. He's using that handbrake. I don't think that will be the quickest line when we get into racing, but it definitely looks fun.
Oh, yeah, exactly right. These are rallycross cars. They are designed to go sideways. Come on, they got the fence. I was hoping he'd hold it all the way through 1 and then flick it nicely into 2. It wasn't to be. Dave Roberts, he's currently 5th here in practice, a 44.0. So he's only a 10th away from Skurlock. So he's in the picture for some of the podiums. And of course, these guys will all get their shot at the front of a heat because of the way the system works when it decides who starts the heat. Shooter will get a pole, Clark will get a pole, Skurlock will get a pole, of course, if they stay in those spots in qualifying.
Yeah, so based on the numbers, we will see 4 6-car heats. This stage, so maximum of 6 cars in each heat. So if we have someone else join at the last moment, we will end up with an extra heat. I don't think we're going to. I think we're going to see the 24-car field, which means that we will see some really, really tight racing as well, because these times are pretty close with top 10 half a second. It doesn't matter how long a track is, half a second separates your top 10. You know you're going to have very, very close racing.
100%. So as Pruden, again, shows us what a sideways car looks like through what is normally turn 5 here at Catalunya. In fact, it still is turn 5. They are doing the first sector of the racetrack, then they take that right and get out of the way. William Murray currently sitting 15th here in practice. He's at a 44.5. So he's part of a big group of cars that are from Gavin Sadler with a 44.4 down to Cameron Dance with a 44.6, covered by 2 tenths of a second.
Michael Skurlock high up in the timing sheets at the moment, P3, so he'll be pretty happy with where he is for the moment. It can very, very quickly change once times are wiped in only 35 seconds. So open setup as well as caught a couple of drivers out that haven't done a huge amount of practice coming into this event, so they might be struggling in regards to how the car will behave. Wouldn't have done long race stints as well, so they might be struggling to understand how the car will behave over the length of a race. So Heat 1 could be a little bit of an interesting little heat there, because some drivers will get caught out. And of course, these cars do biff and barge a little bit when we see them in rallycross situations, so no doubt that'll be very, very similar when we go green for race number 1, heat number 1.
Well, all eyes now to who can do the fastest lap in the space of 10 minutes. They get 8 laps, which means we're probably not going to see the session advance early. I doubt everyone will get 8 laps in. Someone's bound to make a mistake and put it on its lid. As qualifying gets underway, and we see how good that form guide of practice was, as we watch Jordan Pruden roll out of the very awkward pit exit here at the club layout of the Barcelona circuit. Very steady. Very steady outlap for him so far, isn't it?
100%. He's been very, very cautious getting out of the pit lane, so has got out okay. So he looks like he will get this started rather smoothly. interesting.
Yeah, smooth is one way to put it.
Haven't seen a huge number of drivers get out of the pits too early, which is a little surprising. We'll see how that changes over the next few minutes.
I can say most of the drivers are actually being aggressive, or more aggressive than Pruden. So he's looking to maximum conservation in terms of his tyre life. Doesn't want to put even a percentage of wear on them. Now, is this an open or a closed session? Is the other question.
I believe it is open, but in groups.
Okay, so I'm confused.
So
yeah, it looks like there's 4 groups. There's actually 5 groups, and Jack Boyd's in a group all by himself.
Yeah.
So each driver can only see 4 other people on the racetrack, with the exception of Boyd, who's basically got a sole qualifying effort. So Skurlock, he's part of the second group with Roberts, Ball, Sadler, Cannell, and John Taylor. But all the times get lumped together, so they're not qualifying in their groups, so to speak.
It just means because it's such a short track, they have got other cars out on the circuit with them, but they won't have heaps of cars out there interrupting. So, pretty good format. So, it's like group qualifying, but without having to run them all separately.
Might need to drop that camera down a couple inches, Jay.
Yeah, I know, it's a little bit higher than what I was expecting it to be, but we'll make that work. There we go. So, Skurlock
Good first lap from Skurlock.
Yep.
And he immediately pulls off the racetrack. He's got 8 laps up his sleeve, so interesting call. Nathan Anderson, what can he do? As he's coming through turn at number 4, and then he'll come into the hairpin now. He set a 44.7 in practice, so he was a little ways off the pace. And that's not a great line through the hairpin. This is in fact a warm-up lap, so he's now beginning his first flying lap of the session. Car sounds great as it rolls off the throttle, doesn't it?
100%, a little bit of turbo that you can hear. One thing I did notice throughout the practice races earlier in the week is that cars can be a little bit more aggressive come race time in regards to running wide off the circuit, but qualifying, they can't be quite as aggressive, so we won't see too many cut corners, won't see too many drivers drift too wide, but come race time, corners will be cut, grass will be absolutely destroyed, and the curves will be bounced off very, very aggressively.
It's a nice, steady lap from Anderson. What does it do in terms of ultimate pace, though? A 44.4, 44.8 puts him into 15th position. 21 drivers have set lap times so far. And here's Jordan Pruden, who's sitting in 6th. He's gone 0.004 of a second quicker than his practice time. He can improve by that much. Whoa! He got that horribly wrong. I was going to say if he can improve by that much again, he'll go ahead of Dave Roberts, but that's not how you do it. Looks like these two have found themselves together on the racetrack, despite being just 5 cars in this group. Danny Albin is probably getting held up a little bit.
Yeah, that last lap time didn't count either, so these two are either working together and are that close for a reason, or they have both hurt each other on that previous lap. And I think Albin's just said to his teammate there of Miles Bond, get out of the way, I want to get through. So don't want to hurt your teammate. They're the worst drivers to hurt when you're on a flying lap, and Albin's lap has been destroyed as well. Nathan Clark jumps up into 7th position.
Jeremy Clark jumps up to the top. He's got 2
nice
tenths over everyone at the moment, halfway through the session. A lot of drivers seem to be putting the laps in rather slowly. They're going in and out of pit lane to keep those tyres as fresh as they can. James Ruwalt, he's in 3rd of the 43.932. He's just half a tenth away from Skurlock. Very tight from 2nd on back. Clark's in a league of his own at the moment. Here on the session, we're watching from above as Kyle Stevens rips it through turn number 4. And gets a bit loose with the rear end, hanging out a little bit. That might have helped him. There is a point where you can get sideways and not hurt your time. Especially in these cars. Was very straight and ends up off the racetrack, though, so he's going to abandon that lap.
Just going to go to John Schultz, but I don't think we'll worry because he's off the circuit. So everyone has now put in a time. Adam Neal back in 23rd position. Will be looking to move up the times a little bit. One thing about these cars being the iRacing Rallycross cars, it does make it a little bit easier for us to work out who's who, especially when we compare to what we just have with the night race with the driver's name on the front windscreen. It does make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, it certainly does. Adam Neal stays 23rd. I can hear his tyres protesting from up above
100%.
in my sim as he squeals his way through the corner. Only one driver yet to set a lap time. That's Jason Markowski. And he's not on the racetrack either. In fact, he's failed to join the session. So everyone in the server has set times here in qualifying. John Schultz is on a warm-up lap after abandoning his previous attempt. Ryan Shooter, he goes into second place. And that's a tenth of a second away from Jeremy Clark. So good lap from Shooter there. Remember, he was fastest in practice. Another defining feature of these rallycross cars is the giant number on the roof, Jay. Which is what I thought you were referring to.
Well, yeah, that is another thing. Yes, 100% right. But the name on the windscreen is a little bit more obvious on most camera shots, so let's make it a little bit easier.
I can't read it from where I'm sitting.
You need
Who's
better
that?
eyesight.
Who's that? The Texas Fitzstyle car.
That's old mate Dance that just left the comms box. Gone out there on track. He's been pretty excited about running this series all the last few weeks. He and Simon Mazzomo in the joint entries from Texas Fitzstyle, so they'll be looking to have a good run. They're both looking like they're going to have a lot of fun out there. They've been talking it up all week. They've been talking
Their times was about as slow as each other at the moment. 44.341, 44.349, 13th and 14th.
I do know that Mazzomo did go okay in the practice race. Believe it was Monday night, although he did get shuffled off and put into the fence early on in the race. But he did go okay. He wasn't completely horrible. Yeah, Jordan Pruden up to P2. So that's P1, P2 for the teammates. Right, Sim Racing.
And just 300ths of a second separating him. Here is Jordan Pruden in the number... Nope, that's Clark.
I've caught you out there.
That's Jeremy Clark. Here's Daniel Stevens. He's 12th on the outside of the top 10, looking in at the moment, just behind Miro and Kyle Stevens. They're 11th and 10th, respectively. And this is the Sinfinity Spanish Slam. Is what round one is officially called, Jay. As he tips it in and across the start-finish line. I do wonder if abandoning your next lap by just mashing the throttle across the line is the key to going really fast, because it feels like they're probably lifting off as they cross the line.
Potentially. That might be why we've seen a couple of drivers hit the wall at the exit of the last corner there, coming under the bridge. So, yeah, you're right. Potentially, running off the circuit there just after the finish line and maybe slamming into the wall might be the quickest way to get that lap in rather than slowing down for the next corner. But only a minute on the clock, and that's a missed apex there for Daniel Stevens. So he's got one chance left to get this time in now.
44.6, that's 4/10 off the pace. He's got one lap left up his sleeve. He'll just get there before time runs out on the clock. Fighting the rear end as it tries to step away all the way through turn 3 and winding up the throttle. It's a long corner, longest on the racetrack. Almost as long as some of the trucks will visit this season. As he does do a good job of keeping the car pointed all in one direction, and we'll see if that equates to a fast lap time as he goes way too deep into the hairpin, has to use the handbrake, and he spins it around off in the grass. And that's a distraction for Jeremy Clark, which may have compromised his exit and cost him time as he does abandon his lap. Time runs out, session done, qualifying done, time to head into the heat. These are going to be short and sharp. They're 4 laps long. The top 2 will go straight through to the feature. Here's the 5-car grid for heat number 1. Jeremy Clark, Hugh McLaughlin, Kyle Stevens, Simon Mazzomo, William Murray, and that's it. Your top 5. Should have been a 6-car grid, but Markowski not in the server.
And by the looks of that as well, we will have 5-car heats now. So, we'll have a few extra heats, which means more chances for the drivers to win cash because the race winner in each heat will win cash money. Real cash.
Cash money.
Real cash money, not pretend cash money, not Monopoly money.
Not what you pay me with, is what you're saying.
Monopoly money, that is right. You
We're
get
just
what you
waiting for-
deserve.
Wow. We're just waiting for William Murray to grid up, which is done, and the drivers will get underway as the turbos whiz into action. Revs rise. Let's get heat number 1 of the Spanish Slam underway. As the green flag flies and we launch. These cars launch very quickly, and even with the inside line, Clark's going to come under fire from McLaughlin, who fired off very well and gets by him through the opening chicane. Great start from him.
Really good launch from McLaughlin, and you can see Stevens as well got a good launch. Mazoma not quite as good, but it wasn't a terrible launch from Clark, but he just couldn't quite get the second phase of the launch away. But McLaughlin now straight under fire from Jeremy Clark. He's got that inside line, but might not be able to get it finished.
We might see the outside prevail a few times, because being on the inside, Clark has to be careful of his steering. He can't open up to the exit of the corner because of the car on the outside. It actually compromises him quite a fair bit, as we saw on that start, and similarly through turn 1.
Oh,
Lap
no.
1 in the books as Kyle Stevens cops a whack from Mazzomo, who lifts off and lets him regather the car, costs him a spot to William Murray. Mazzomo comes over the radio to apologise, as McLaughlin has still got Jeremy Clark for close company behind. These two have got themselves in a very comfortable position as the two looking to advance into the feature. They're side by side behind. It's all on for third, but third place isn't paying out anything except starting positions for the consolation.
Exactly right. We're already coming up to the halfway point of the race, side by side, coming out of the hairpin, under the bridge, and through the shortcut across the finish line. Halfway through, 2 laps done, 2 laps to go.
Racing for money as well. How much do they get for winning a heat here, Jay?
Good question. I haven't got that in front of me. I can't tell you.
What do we pay you for? Clark up the inside. He's got the run. Here we go. McLaughlin's going to be brave on the outside to hold this one. Clark will have the preferred line, but if McLaughlin keeps it there, he's got the inside for the hairpin. Giving a burst of the throttle mid-corner to try and get a car ahead, but he can't do it. And so McLaughlin now, inside line for the hairpin, prevails. And Clark looking for the switchback, but can't get it. White flag, one more time around in heat number 1. As they throw it through the final corner, through turn 1. McLaughlin throws it wide, and Jeremy Clark slips up the inside and takes away the race lead. McLaughlin, though, is still right there with him. Looks like he's setting himself up for the run through 3, but he might have got it just a little bit wrong.
Yeah, I think he's gone a little bit too wide there and ruined any momentum. Jeremy Clark did a great job getting that move done, and he's now got a decent lead. And Kyle Stevens closing in quickly at the end of the race here too. Might nearly be able to get a move done on his teammate. Does McLaughlin potentially have a little bit of damage to the car and maybe some steering damage, because the front right-hand side of that car looks a little busted and broken. Doesn't look like it's quite right, but Jeremy Clark looks like he'll take this one away.
Jeremy Clark wins Heat 1, our first winner of the season. Hugh McLaughlin books his transfer spot in 2nd, Carl Stevens 3rd, William Murray 4th, and Mazzomo comes last. They'll have to fight through the consolations to make it into the feature. That's how it looked in terms of the gaps. And now it's time to grid up for heat number 2. It's Jordan Pruden, Dave Roberts, Jack Boyd, Cameron Dance, and Grant Matterford, your 5-car field for this.
This looks like a really competitive heat, this one. Just looking at it straight away on paper, it looks really, really close. All of these drivers very, very fast. So this will be an interesting one. Looking forward to seeing how this one plays out. Again, 4 laps. Not a very long race. Going to be a very, very close battle.
Just waiting for Cameron Dance to grid up. Knowing what we normally see on his webcam, he's probably on his phone.
It's true.
There we go, he's gridded up. Let's get this one firing and underway. Let's see if Pruden can right the mistakes of Clark from the pole position spot as the green flag flies. And a good launch for Pruden. He'll lead them through turn number 1. Dave Roberts coming under pressure from Jack Boyd, who got to the inside. And they're going to run very close through turn 2. Cameron Dance almost had a look in there as well.
Yeah, Dan's thought about throwing it up the inside there, and Roberts backed out of it at the last second. Good idea that he did there, but really good launch from Jack Boyd to get that move done. Now here comes Dance. Oh,
Big
contact.
dive. Got that horribly wrong. Truly ambitious but rubbish from Dance there. And he's going to have to redress that. In fact, he is. But that was just way too committed from Dance.
100%. And I think as soon as he went to go in there, he knew that he was never, ever going to pull that one up. So it's going to change the race there. Unfortunate for Dave Roberts. He'll have to settle for 4th unless something happens at the front. But Jack Boyd, have a look at the gap that he's closed of Jordan Pruden in the second half of that lap. He has closed up very, very quickly.
Yeah, Pruden had a massive gap heading into turn number 3, but you're right, Boyd is closing now. 2 laps left in this heat. They're very quick events, which means no time to right a potential mistake that any of these drivers could make, like that one from Dance and Roberts. They've now got their work cut out of them for the rest of this evening. Grant Manafort in 3rd is hoping one of these two has an issue because he's languishing 2 seconds away from these guys. Let's check the lap times this time round. Jordan Pruden does a 44.043 and Jack Boyd a 44.2. So Pruden actually pulled a couple tenths.
You were going to say a 1 minute then. He's like, hang on, the laps aren't that long. It's thrown you out with this short road racing. So, Boyd does look like he's okay though in regards to pace. So, of course, joined late, so may not have done quite as much practice. But Pruden looking very, very smooth and controlled at the front of the field at the moment. And if he can pick up the win here, that would be 2 in a row for Riot Sim Racing to start the season off.
Putting themselves as the team to beat, it would seem, as he will catch the white flag just about out the right-hand side of the car, where the flagman should be, but isn't. There's no real defining feature. There is a up and over the inside curve. And just got to get through here comfortably. He's got 2 seconds pretty much over Boyd, who's got to be a little bit careful about Manafort behind. He's got that one pretty much wrapped up, though. You can see the gap as they come out of turn 3. Massive gap back to Roberts and Dance as well. Dance is actually just drifting around the racetrack, by the way. So, checkered flag over a tame second heat. These guys spreading out a lot more than the first one. But Pruden going to cap it off with a victory. He takes out heat number 2. And he goes straight through to the feature. Jack Boyd will go right on with him. Grant Manafort, Dave Roberts, Cameron Dance. The rest of the order. Dance still hasn't crossed the line. There we go. 15 seconds behind in the end. So, heat 3. Gonna go straight into this. This is where Ryan Shooter lines up on the pole. Nathan Clark in 2nd, Mia Ott in 3rd, Gavin Sadler and Adam Neal 4th and 5th.
You said that heat was a little bit more tame. It was tame in one way, but of course we did see that very, very heavy contact at the start there on lap 1. And I'll tell you what, we're going to get straight into this one because the drivers have already gridded up. We go.
First time today, top 4, top 5, all of them go single file through the first 2 corners. This might condense them down into turn number 4. Shooter still leading from Clark, who's bolted a little bit wide from Ott, who was under pressure from Sadler. Really gassed it up coming out of the middle to latter stages to turn 3 at Ott. Gave a lot of speed, but wasn't able to capitalize to make the move on Clark up the road. Adam Neal just about 2 seconds off the back of these 4.
Oh, almost contact there between Nathan Clark and Mia Ott there too, coming out of the hairpin. So Clark needs to be careful because Ott has some decent pace. Does drive these cars a little bit. So you're looking to take advantage of any mistake from Nathan Clark.
There's one. Missed the apex.
Was it a mistake or an alternate line?
It did give him a good exit, I'll give him that much.
Yep.
He just drifted off the apex, almost like he wanted to dive in the corner, which in fact probably was a plan. Very much was a good diamond line through the corner, which is what you see with a lot of really long corners, such as turn 3 here at Barcelona. Mirot, though, is just absolutely sending it into the corners on the brakes, throwing it in there, turning her exit, but making up a lot of time on the entry. That's definitely a mistake from Clark. And P2 goes to Mirot, and Clark goes straight into her back bumper, and now pulls alongside her. Does he switch back and send it to the inside of Ott? Trying, but she cut the momentum up very nicely through turn 3. And he does pull out of the move.
It's a good little battle here.
Wow,
Contact.
she was so slow through the middle of the corner.
Yeah.
Clark had to jam on the brakes.
Lucky to not end in tears for both of those drivers there from that little... I don't know if that was a mistake or a misgear or something bizarre there from Ott, but definitely was slow. And now going to get the white flag. I must say, I love that shot there. You can see the rear right-hand wheel lift off the ground as they go down the hill.
They flick it through the first chicane and then into turn 3. All about throttle modulation here. Keep the car straight. Get your exit right. This is for the transfer spot to the feature. No guarantees. If you don't get second place, you might get taken out on the C main or the B main for all you know. As Clark throws it in. 2 more opportunities remain. Does he look up the inside of the hairpin? Oh, he was trying to set himself up for it, but he's thrown it into the grass. And that'll pretty much seal the deal. Out front, Ryan Shooter going to get it done. Race winner of heat number 3. Wins it comfortably from Mirot in second. Nathan Clark comes home third. Gavin Sadler in fourth. And Adam Neal has actually crashed into the fence, trying to drift it round, and has yet to make the checkered flag as a result. In fact, he takes it in pit lane. That was an interesting line. That's your top 5. Heat 4.
Flying
Michael
through the heats.
Skerlock, Johnny Schultz, Daniel Stevens, Danny Albin, and Ryan Bull. And they're all gridded up. We're going to get the green flag. There we go. Green flag is out. And good start from Skerlock. Schultz under pressure from Stevens to the inside. Oh, that's tight. Very tight. Just enough room being given on the inside for Stevens to work with. In the end, not able to make the move stick, but he was really looking to capitalize on a good launch.
Was a good launch there from Stevens, but a really good launch from Skerlock, and Albin went a little bit wide coming through the start. There's a bit of contact there between Stevens, and this will open up the door for Albin.
Gonna squeeze his way to the inside of the hairpin. Schultz, but the squeeze on him, and he's giving him a big hip check. Wheel-to-wheel contact, and Albin loops it off the corner. Into the tie bundle he goes.
That was interesting to see him disappear off the circuit like that. After the contact, was very, very ambitious move from Albin. We saw that he had momentum, but just looked like he completely missed his braking marker altogether.
Yeah, might have just dropped the right side off the exit of the racetrack there, coming through turn 4, or turn 5, which might have caused a spin. We'll get a quick replay here. So there's the contact as you lunged up the inside of him. And then on the exit, he's got the grass as he's picked up the throttle. And that's what's put him into the fence. Very easy to do with that wide line exiting the hairpin. 2 laps to go. Skerlock with a 1.2 second gap over John Schultz. Daniel Stevens is 2.4 back in third.
And there is a drive-through system in this series as well, so the drivers will get issued a drive-through penalty if they hit 10 incident points in a race. Also at 15...
You have to be pushing hard to hit 10 incident points in 4 laps.
10-lap main, of course. So that is a potential that could happen then. So probably won't see that until we get into our mains, but the 10-lap feature race at the end of the night, there is a chance that that could happen. Of course, 10, 15 as well. They'll also get another drive-through. If they get to 20, they're out for the rest of the night. So unlikely that we'll see that in the heats, but you never know what could happen. Bizarre things happen in racing. Shorten the tracks, increases the intensity, and bizarre things do happen as Danny Albin's actually abandoned this race and has taken his car back to the pits.
A short track means a compressed field, but this heat, Michael Skurlock is just romping away with it with the white flag flying. Only half a lap left. Ryan Bull looked a little bit slow there as well. There he is, the man out front, untouchable in this one, showing some very good form. And he will take out heat number 4. And he will go straight through to the feature. Michael Skurlock wins our 4th heat of the night. John Schultz will join him in the feature. Daniel Stevens comes 3rd. Ryan Bull home in 4th. And Danny Albin fails to find the checkered flag. And it's time for heat number 5. Just like that, we're into our final heat, and it's James Ruwelt on the pole for this one. Miles Bond next to him. Nathan Anderson from 3rd. Adam Cannell and Jamie Taylor. Our 5 cars smashing that throttle pedal, holding the limiter, and dropping the hammer. I'll tell you what, Miles Bond actually fired off very well there. But he wasn't actually able to do anything with it because of where 2nd place starts. It wasn't a bad enough start from Ruwelt to allow him to get around the outside.
And Nathan Anderson also got a very, very good start too, so it sort of compromised his ability to try and do anything with it. As Anderson, big mistake, has to put the handbrake on to try and pull it up. And almost made contact there with Miles Bond, and now he's under pressure from Adam Cannell just behind.
They're very lucky to get away with that.
Yep.
As Miles Bond goes high and wide through the hairpin, while Ruwelt almost half drifted it through there. As we complete lap number 1, top 3, top 5, very close. I keep saying top 5, even though it's only a 5-car field.
You'll be able to say top 5 next race, I promise you.
3/4 of a second, the gap between your top 2. Ruwelt very strong through turn 3, pulled a couple tenths through there alone. As we ride on board with Anderson, much more tame entry to this corner on this attempt. Sorted out his braking zone this time by. Might need to be a bit more aggressive though if he wants to get into the feature, because that transfer spot's just up the road.
Yeah, not much separating him from that spot at the moment, but the amount of time he gained on that lap, the amount of ground you can visibly see that he's gained. He looks like he might be able to do it just based on the pace he's got, especially through the first half of the lap. He looks a lot stronger. And I think coming up here to Repsol turn 4, he might have a chance, but he wasn't quite able to get the exit out of the long hairpin turn 3.
At turn 4, the gap stays pretty stagnant there. Closes up into the hairpin, actually locks the front left, but he found a couple car lengths. White flag for James Ruwelt comfortably out front. The battle is on for the final transfer spot, straight to the feature though, and he's right there on him now. To the back bumper, the little Volkswagen up against the Subaru. Through turn 2, Anderson dropped a bit of time and Bond pulled a bit of a gap. Through turn 3, does it swing back the other way? It doesn't. Anderson never got to the apex.
Great fight between these guys here. Great defensive driving from Bond to maintain his pace, but just hold that line enough to disadvantage any momentum that Anderson's had. And it looks like he's done enough to hold on to that 2nd spot for now.
So James Ruwelt will take out our final heat, and Miles Bond will book his transfer place. Nathan Anderson will fall just shy. He'll have to head through to the C or the B. Adam Cannell coming home in 4th. Jamie Taylor in 5th. So we are going to have a C main. This has 10 cars lining up in it. The top 4 will transfer to the B. And it's 5 laps in length. This is how they line up. Dave Roberts has the pole. Gavin Sadler starts next to him. Ryan Bull and Adam Cannell on row 2. Mizomo and Dance on row 3. Adam Neal and Donnie Albin, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Jamie Taylor, Jason Markowski, the last 2. Markowski not in the server, he won't grid up. So 9 cars.
And look at how far back the back of the field lines up. Under the bridge, It's a long way to go to gain any time for the rear of the field. Adam Neal not on the grid at the moment either. Oh no, there's a wreck already.
Big crash. Adam Cannell has found himself in the fence almost as quickly as he'd hit the throttle there. Must have been turned by someone.
We'll try and get a replay. Yeah.
As we stream through turn 3. Everything else looks relatively straightforward. Dance is again going for a big lunge. This time he doesn't collect the car in front of him. That's Ryan Bull. He's got to the inside off, but wrong side of the racetrack for the hairpin. As behind, Mizoma having to defend as well. As all they come together as they turn in. And Dance will not complete that maneuver.
Not at the moment, but look at that. Up the inside, almost contact.
Squeezy.
Remember before the during qualifying, I said that the curbs would be cut, the grass would be destroyed. They hit again. These guys are going to cut every corner they can to try and get every single millisecond they can.
This is hurting Mizono and Albin too. They're starting to get held up. Remember, Dance is in 4th. He's the final guy going through to the B main at this point. So those guys behind want to get by. And there's more contact. And around goes Mizomo and Ryan Bull. And, no. Left with nowhere to go was Jamie Taylor. And that's put Mizomo up on his lid. But he gets put back on all 4 wheels.
Wow. What a race-changing incident that was.
So Danny Albin now has the final transfer spot. So here's the replay. As Dance looked up the inside of Ryan Bull, he ran wide, which gave the momentum to Dance. They just hooked bumpers, and it slowed Bull up. Mizomo had nowhere to go, and Jamie Taylor was so committed out of the corner, he couldn't react quick enough, and straight into the side of Simon.
Just trying to see if we get a replay at the start, but it doesn't look like it's going to work.
Cannell's wheel apparently lost connection at the start.
Yeah, it looked like he might have just hooked sideways at the start, so no surprise. We've lost 3 runners from our race. Adam Neal started in the pits, and he's already up into 6, so he a little bit of misfortune, a couple more drivers, and he'll get himself into the B main, which is the last chance to get yourself into the main event of the night.
Remember, 1 lap extra in this C main as opposed to our heat, so still waiting for the white flag for our race leaders, Dave Roberts, Gavin Sadler. There's 1.6 seconds between them.
And looking at timing as well, looks like Dave Roberts may have set the fastest lap of the entire night in this race as well.
It's a good pace out of him. As the white flag is out, there is 1 more lap, or half a lap now, for Dave Roberts out front as he continues to blow out that margin to Sadler behind. Cameron Dance sat 3rd and Danny Albin 4th. Those spots are pretty much sorted in terms of who's going through to our B. A couple more corners to navigate now for Roberts through the hairpin. He can afford to coast home from here. He will win the C main. He'll go through to our B. Good win from Roberts. Gavin Sadler home in 2nd. Cameron Dance in 3rd. Danny Albin 8th to 4th. Good job from him.
He'll be happy with that. Ryan Bull, he'll be really disappointed. And he did absolutely nothing wrong. That was just hard fighting between he and Dance. They sort of locked bumpers. It forced a check-up from Bull. And Mizomo, that was just close, hard racing that's just caught 2 drivers out. Unfortunately, it's a real disappointment and unfortunate for Ryan Bull. Probably deserved a much better result.
So Bull, Neal, Mizomo, and Taylor and Carnell will have to pack their bags, go home, and try again next week as we look at your results from the C main. And now it's time to head into the B main. This is also a 10-car grid, but the 5 fastest at the end will head through to our feature. Kyle Stevens on the pole, Grant Matterford next to him, Nathan Clark and Daniel Stevens on row 2. William Murray starts on the outside of Nathan Anderson. Dave Roberts, Gavin Sadler, Cameron Dance, Danny Albin starting 9th and 10th. So Albin with a lot of work to do again if he wants to advance.
Another short race, 5 laps, so these guys haven't got much chance at the back to make any mistakes. Any move that they attempt to make has to be precision perfect. And they also haven't got much time to breathe in between. If you've run in Heat 5, gone into the C main, into the B main, and somehow make it into the feature, you're racing all of these races back to back. So it's a big, big effort to get yourself motivated and continue on. Hard if you are the guys that have raced in the first heat and get yourself into the A main. As we've got a car stalled at the back. That's Gavin Sadler not going anywhere. He's finally got going. But a good clean start at the front. Kyle Stevens away in the lead.
Grant Matterford will chase him through the chicane. Nathan Clark, Stevens, and Anderson, no change amongst your top 5. As again, Anderson's car very wide through turn 3 as we look back from Stevens as Matterford has a bit of a slowdown potentially. He was really slow coming into turn number 4, and Nathan Clark breezed by him.
It was just almost like he pulled over and let Clark through there. So strange, he's still slow because here comes Stevens looking to make the move, and Matterford running wide again. So potentially right, he might have a slowdown. I don't know where he would have got it from. But
Turn 2.
Yeah, turn 2. Oh, have a look at that. Up on 3 wheels there for Daniel Stevens, running slightly wide through that final corner.
Matterford is able to hold on. Stevens looking for the crossover. Not going to find it. Nathan Anderson there in 5th. Doesn't want to get held up because Murray's right behind him. He's currently holding the final transfer spot. Is Anderson, as now Stevens with the run and the momentum to the inside. Anderson going to follow him. Massive straight line issues for Grant Matterford's car.
Yeah, something's not right for Grant Matterford at the moment. He's having some sort of trouble or some sort of technical issue because his car is not functioning as it should. Dave Roberts is going to look for a move up the inside. Of course, this is for the transfer spot. He said top 5 go through into the final with our top 2 finishes in each of the heats to give us our 15 car, 10 lap field. And Matterford's going to have to do everything he can to hold on right now.
Trying, looking, almost contact. That forced Matterford wide, and Dave Roberts will take it away. And right there, Matterford just drops.
Yeah. I wonder if his
Wrong
gear
gearing.
ratio's right.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Oh, Albin. Too committed there.
And Matterford did a good job to see that coming and avoid contact. But I think it might be... Oh, no,
Wait.
Matterford's around.
And Albin hit him as he spun, so that might have damaged his front end. Dave Roberts now has a final spot to transfer through to the feature, and he's got a bit of time to work with Albin behind him, about a second back. Further than that, even 2 or 3 seconds. They're lining up behind William Murray too. Cameron Dance all over him. Gavin Sadler looking for a way by as well. Oh no, in fact, they've made contact.
Oh,
and all
no.
3 of them have come into contact. 2 of them around. Sadler comes through them all.
That was a heavy, heavy impact there for Dance and Murray. And Matterford's something majorly wrong. We'll try and hopefully find out before the end of the night what the issue is for Grant Matterford. But I think it's gear ratio. I think he's run too short a ratio and he's on the limiter before the end of the straight there. It's the only real thing it could be, isn't it? I don't know what else it could be.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Didn't see it in the heats, did we? So
No.
maybe he's made a change that's gone horribly wrong for him. He was 3rd in Heat 2, so he didn't have that issue. Either way, he's having it now, and it's probably going to put an end to his night. Unless disaster strikes ahead of him. As Daniel Stevens is looking very racy on the back of Nathan Clark here. Wants to get himself up into 2nd, but this is the white flag, and this is the checkered flag for Kyle Stevens.
Oh, no!
Oh, no!
Oh, no, they're not across
Big
the line!
send. They're not across the line, so Anderson will come home in 2nd. Clark limps home in 3rd. Reversing home in 5th was Daniel Stevens. And he got there by half a second.
Wow. Wow.
That was... I mean, I might need a replay of that, but...
I don't know if we're going to be able to get one because we're straight into the
Damn.
main, so we're not going to be able to do it. We might get it at the end of the night.
Oh, wait, I can look at it.
You can. I'll run through the results. Stevens, Anderson, Clark, Roberts, and Stevens into the A main, which is coming up right now Albin, Sadler, Dance, Murray and Matterford go home. Their night is done. And it is time for the feature event.
It was just a ridiculous last gasp effort from Daniel Stevens. Such a massive lob for such a little gain. He will squeak through, though, by the skin of his teeth. This is how they line up for the feature. Clark and Pruden, Shooter and Skurlock, Ruwalt and McLaughlin, Boyd and Ott, Schultz and Bond. Your top 10 field is rounded out by Stevens, Anderson, Clark, Roberts, and the other Stevens, Daniel Stevens. They're your 5 that advanced through from the B main. Green flag. We're underway for the feature. And that is a great start for Jeremy Clark. Better than the one he got earlier on, that's for sure. He'll lead Jordan Pruden through the chicane from Shooter. Skurlock fending off Ruo. A few guys were side by side through there.
Nathan Clark's missed the start of the race, so he's had to start from pit lane. So he's a long, long way back with Hugh McLaughlin. Jack Boyd side by side, almost 3 wide coming in to Repsol. Mayorot as well.
Your top 3 have broken away from Pandemonium behind him.
You've been commentating with Lockie too much.
I just had that same thought. As Revolt runs a little bit wide out of the hairpin. And look behind, it's the 2 teammates, Boyd and McLaughlin, almost come together. Up the inside, McLaughlin squeezes. They slide, they touch. McLaughlin loses out. And this allows Mayorot to get a nose in there. She's going to look for the crossover.
Whoa!
Bump.
That was probably a little bit too much of a heavy hit that Mayorot was wanting to give there. And running very, very wide. Had to use the handbrake there to pull that up.
That didn't look good. Oh, they kept it straight though. As it was Boyd and McLaughlin again coming together. Oh, under a lot of pressure.
Oh, car off Skurlock.
And Anderson. Skurlock's off the racetrack. He's going to rejoin in an absolute frantic battle. And he actually gets into on. And not has to drift away through the final corner. This is on.
Yep, just seeing John Schultz is out of the race as well. Actually returning to the circuit, so some damage for Schultz. Stevens also had to drive the car back into the pits, but it is closing up at the front of the field. Ryan Shooter is closing in and closing in fast.
Can Pruden play rear gunner to Jeremy Clark then? Because if he doesn't, and Shooter's able to get by without being held up, Clark may be under threat from the ultimate race winner. Shooter has a last little look up the inside. He locked the rears, and it's cost him a fair bit of time as a result. You've got to risk reward. A bit too risky from Shooter there, and it costs him.
I don't think he needed to do that quite yet. I'm wondering if there's something weird going on for quite a few drivers. Just seeing Miles Bond in the pits. I was going to say, I wonder if some drivers haven't put enough fuel in the car for this final race, but of course you can't refill these cars. So if you have started the car with too little fuel, you're going to be in a lot of trouble because you can't put fuel in a rallycross car in iRacing. So we'll find out if that is the case to a few drivers. Jeremy Clark, though, doing a really good job at the front. Jordan Pruden with some tech issues. Might be the only thing that'll stop a 1-2 finish at the moment for the Wright Sim Racing team, because they are doing a great job at the front.
And now, Shooter's starting to come under some pressure from Ruo, who's gained after starting from 5th. He's still going to get himself up onto the podium. Through turn 3, he's carrying great pace, keeping that car glued to the apex, and then running it out wide a little bit earlier. So opening the steering up earlier than Shooter, and that's giving him more momentum on the run down into turn number 4. Not quite as strong through turn 4, though.
See, Jeremy Clark made a little bit of a mistake there coming through second last corner and opened the door a little bit for Pruden, but was able to gain that back. But what it's done, it has compressed that front 4 up. The front 4 separated by just on a second now, so rather than having a 2-car battle for first and second, a 2-car battle for third and fourth, we've got a true 4-car battle for the win.
4 cars covered by 1.1 seconds then. Clark from Pruden, Shooter, Rewalt. 2 teammates trying to fend off Two drivers hungry for their own performances right now. Clark and Prudence seem to be running a little bit wider through that hairpin than Shooter, and that's giving him lots of time through there.
Yeah, and it's just opened the door a tiny little bit there for Shooter to potentially throw a move. Wasn't quite able to do it, but Ryan Shooter looking a lot stronger through the second half of the circuit. But turn 1 and 2,
The high
Jeremy
speed
Clark,
stuff.
yeah, the high-speed stuff. I'm wondering if that's just a thing with the Beetle a little bit more too. But in saying that, Shooter is driving the Beetle too, so
Yeah.
it probably isn't that. But
Bad point, Jay.
yeah, I don't even know why I made that comment. But Shooter definitely doesn't look as strong through that, but through the slower section from here on until we get to the turn 1 coming through the finish line, Shooter looks a lot stronger. So watch how much he gains right here.
Yeah, really throws it over the inside of the final and first corner. Might cost him a little bit on the run into turn 1, but then through 1 and 2, Prudent and Clark are very fast. And I reckon Prudent's now the faster of those top two. Clark's under a lot of pressure here. Now,
And this is the
how
closest Shooter's been now too. Shooter
How
wasn't
hard
his
did the
fast last lap.
teammates battle? And yeah, Shooter's getting ever closer. This might come right down to the final lap. 2 to go when we cross the line. Prudent's close enough for a look here, I reckon. Clark doesn't feel a need to cover. Does he go too deep? No, again, he runs a little bit wide. Prudent keeps it tucked to the apex this time. So much better through the hairpin. Now does he set himself up for an exit out of 1? And he does it. Oh, his Shooter almost got into him.
And he's bad to back out of that then too, because he was worried he was going to make contact. And that gave Prudent a tiny little breather for just a moment as Rewalt back into it, because he dropped off a little bit there. And now Rewalt's back into it again. We're back into a true 4-car battle for the win. Sorry to everyone else, we're going to stay with this at the front.
Through turn 4, the gap's still at a car length. It's tantalizingly close for Prudent. It's like a carrot is being dangled in front of him. But he's never been quite close enough to have a look. And surely with the money on offer, you've got to have a look. And there's the opportunity. A mistake through the hairpin. Clark runs way too wide. Prudent wants the crossover. Shooter wants a piece of it. That might have cost Prudent ultimately. White flag one more time in Barcelona.
What a fight. And the big issue that Prudent's got, I think if it wasn't his teammate at the front, that he'd have a go. But because it's his teammate, I think he's trying to help Clark out with those guys behind that will just take advantage if there's a slight slip up. So he's got to be really careful, because you want to battle your teammates hard, but the number one rule of racing, don't take your teammates out. I think that's playing on the back of Jordan Prudent's mind right now. 2
corners left to go through the hairpin. Does anyone have a big look? Shooter threw it in, but he's not close enough. Clark is much nicer through the hairpin. Poor exit from Prudent. Checkered flag is out. Jeremy Clark going to win the Spanish Slam. The Blip Clothing Hard and Fast 2020 season. They crash across the line behind Prudent and Shooter on the podium.
What a race that was. That was so much fun. And we're going to have this again next week and for the next 10 weeks of racing. What a great result for Riot Sim Racing there. P1, P2, they couldn't have got this championship off to a better start tonight.
A fantastic start and a fantastic opening night. And all done in under an hour's time. 59 minutes on the clock. Just hit 10 p.m. right now, in fact. As we take a look at the end of our 8th race of the night. The feature, Jeremy Clark wins over Prudent and Shooter. Ruwalt only 3/4 of a second away in 4th. Jack Boyd in 5th in the end, ahead of Hugh McLaughlin, Michael Skurlock, Nathan Anderson, Mia Ott, and Kyle Stevens, your top 10.
Yeah, the rest of the field that were in the feature there, Dave Roberts, Nathan Clark, and Daniel Stevens all on the lead lap. And then we saw Miles Bond drive it into the pits. He did get back out on the circuit. John Schultz looks like he did also get out onto the circuit. We will hopefully have Jeremy Clark come in for a chat very, very soon as well. But we're going to do it all again next week. And next week, one of the layouts that I don't think you even knew existed on iRacing, we're heading to Mid-Ohio around the alternate oval. So did you even know that there was an oval at the amazing Mid-Ohio circuit?
Not only is there an oval at Mid-Ohio, there's an alternate version of the oval at Mid-Ohio.
So
that should be interesting.
It will be very, very interesting. So it's basically the the second corner is turns 1 and 2, and 3 and 4 is the chute that goes back around onto that straight between turn 1 and turn 2, and then there's the keyhole is where the finish line will be. The start finish line is where the keyhole section is on that straight. So a really, really interesting little section of circuit there. So yeah, hopefully we'll get a couple of these drivers in for an interview, or Jeremy Clark in for an interview in just a minute. Then we'll finish up the night. It's been an awesome night of racing, though.
Certainly has been a lot of fun, and if that's a sign of things to come, stay tuned each and every Wednesday night right here on SimSpeed TV. I think definitely a lot of twists in the early sector of this lap. Obviously, you launch off the line straight into a corner, and then the chicane through 1 and 2 makes it very difficult for the leader to lose out. But where did you come from? Carl Stevens has joined the booth.
I dragged him in.
Carl Stevens, welcome to the comms box. Coming home 10th. That wasn't a great night for you.
Look, no, it wasn't a great night position-wise, but it's awesome fun, and that's all we really want from this series. So, but it's bloody hard. They're not easy to get around, especially on these tracks. When we get to the tighter tracks in a few weeks, there'll probably be a bit more passing opportunities in some heavy braking zones.
Well, the point I was making before you scared me in joining the booth was, well, first sector's so tight, it's so hard to gain positions on the opening lap through there. By the time you hit the first proper braking zone, the field's spread out. That probably made it a little bit easier for the guys who qualified well to keep their spots today, didn't it?
Definitely. Yeah, you got to qualify well. And then on tracks like this, it's all about, just applying pressure and just forcing people into mistakes. It's really hard to get a line to get by, but you just got to do what you can.
Owner of the series, got to be happy with how night one's gone. 8 races, 1 hour of running, and cash paid out.
Yeah, hopefully I'm going to go back and watch the stream in a second. But yeah,
sorry for the bad commentary.
Oh, that's all right, mate.
We had our 30th option for co-commentator had to step up, Jay, unfortunately.
Sorry.
Mate, you got to take whatever you can get. Yeah, but as far as running the series goes, entries are still open. So if anyone wants to get on board, and because there is a bit of cash up for grabs too, even if you're not running well in the championship, if you miss a round, it's not the end of the world, because you can win some money in the future.
Yeah, exactly right. And $500 up for grabs across the course of the season. Fantastic night, and plenty of great sponsors and companies coming on board to help promote it, haven't they?
Oh, definitely, mate. It's been, we've had a great response to it. Obviously, blickclothing.com as the major sponsor. But then we've got all the others coming on board, like Simfinity tonight. We've got Lord and Diesel, who's actually sponsoring 3 of the rounds. Ruin Iran, Total Renault, Signature Photography, and I know I'm going to miss one. I apologise if I do. But yeah, everyone coming on board has been really good. Racewire Tasmania, that's the other one. There we go, got them all.
Well, a big thank you to all those companies for coming on board and making it possible. Thank you for putting this series on, and hopefully you can get a little bit further up inside the top 10 next week.
That's the plan. Thanks, guys.
It was Carl Stevens on the series. We'll wrap things up then, shall we, Jay? At the end of tonight, great action, as we expected, from Hard and Fast. Make sure you tune in at the same time, 9 p.m. Eastern, next week on Wednesday night. Plenty other series before then, though, so make sure you go like SimSpeed Esports Network on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our latest broadcasts. Plus, hit subscribe on YouTube. We're almost at 6,000 subscribers. But for tonight, from myself, Ryan Jones, and this bloke alongside me, Jay Kennedy, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he got rid of the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top. Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled.
gosh, these guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God.